Welcome to my channel. It's me. In this video, we're going to be looking at Revelation chapter 8, verses 1 through 5. Let's go ahead and read the text, and then we'll dive into some deeper meanings. And when he had opened the seventh seal, there was silence in heaven about the space of half an hour. And I saw the 7 angels which stood before God, and to them were given 7 trumpets. And another angel came and stood at the altar, having a golden censer, and there was given unto him much incense, that he should offer it with the prayers of all saints upon the golden altar which was before the throne. And the smoke of the incense, which came with the prayers of the saints, ascended up before God out of the hand of the angel. And the angel took the censer, and filled it with fire of the altar, and cast it into the earth. And there were voices, and thunderings, and lightnings, and an earthquake. Now, right off the bat, let's take note of what John says here in verse 1, that there was silence in heaven for about half an hour. When the 7th seal is opened, there was a period of silence. This reminds me of the account where Jesus went into the temple and drove out the money changers. And when he did so, it says that the people were afraid. They were afraid of the words that he spoke and of his presence. I think something similar is happening here in the vision of John. When he sees these heavenly things, there is a moment where he is struck dumb by the glory of God and what he is seeing. So there's this brief period of silence while John collects himself. And then once he begins to speak again, he begins to see certain things happening in heaven. The first thing that he sees is 7 angels who have been given 7 trumpets. Now, trumpets are used in many different cultures throughout history to call people together, to signal a feast, or to declare war. But in this case, these 7 angels with their 7 trumpets represent judgment. The same word translated trumpets here in Revelation is also translated into the term military instruments. And so we can get a sense of the tone of this passage by understanding this definition. These angels who stand before God are his military force, his army that he's going to use to execute his judgment upon the earth. But don't worry, because this isn't the only good news that we get in this passage. As John continues to look into heaven, he sees another angel who stands at the altar with a golden censer. And John describes how this angel takes the censer and fills it with incense and with the prayers of the saints, and then throws that censer into the earth. First, let's talk about what a censer is. A censer is basically a bowl that has a perforated bottom, and it would be used typically to burn incense. And so here we have this angel who stands at the altar with a golden censer. Now, the prayers of the saints are being described as incense. Now, why would the Bible say that prayers are incense? Well, the reason is because the prayers of the saints have power. The Bible tells us in Psalm chapter 141, verse 2, that the prayers of righteous people, that they are his acceptable offering. And the reason why prayers are considered like incense is because, just like incense, your prayers ascend up before God, and they remind me of the days of the Old Testament where people would take their grain offerings or they would take their sacrifices and they would bring those up to God and lay them upon the altar. Your prayers are considered holy offerings that go up before God. You know, even right now, as we're sitting here in our homes watching this message, people from all over the world are taking time to pray, and their prayers are ascending as a sweet-smelling savor before God. And so what we learn from this passage is that prayers have power. If you ever doubt that your prayers are effective, if you ever wonder if your prayers make any difference, just remember that your prayers are like incense that goes up before God, and they have a powerful effect. That reminds me of a story of a man who prayed a simple prayer every single day. He wasn't praying some long, drawn-out prayer. His prayer was simple. He said, "Lord, if possible, let this cup pass from me. Nevertheless, not my will, but your will be done." And guess what? God answered his prayer. His name was Stephen, and he was praying for the persecution to cease. And when he prayed this prayer, the persecution actually did cease. So yes, your prayers do make a difference. But let's continue on in the passage and see what happens next. After this angel fills the censer with incense and with the prayers of the saints, what does he do? Well, He takes that censer and he casts it into the earth. And when he does so, it says that there were voices and thunderings and lightning and an earthquake. And I want you to notice that the censer, which symbolizes the prayers of the saints, is cast into the earth. And then there are all of these natural phenomena that begin to happen. So let's take a minute to really break this down. What is the connection between the prayers of the saints and earthquakes, thunder, lightning, and voices? Well, the answer is very simple. The prayers of the saints have power, and this is one of the amazing things about prayer. Prayer changes things. When you pray, God is moved to action. Sometimes when you pray, God will move in ways that you wouldn't expect. Sometimes your prayers will result in open doors that you couldn't open yourself. Sometimes your prayers will result in provision coming in ways that you didn't think were possible. And sometimes your prayers will cause spiritual strongholds to be broken. There's a great story of a man who lived in India, and he was living in this village, and the villagers were under the oppression of a demon. And this demon was causing sickness and disease to come upon these people. And nothing that they tried could break this curse. They built new homes. They sacrificed animals. They did all of these things, but nothing would break this curse. Finally, this man who lived in the village was traveling one day, and he heard a preacher of the gospel preach about Jesus and how Jesus had authority over demons. And he placed his faith in Jesus, and after he prayed, immediately he felt the demon leave him. And when the demon left, all of the sickness and all of the disease lifted from him. And when he returned to his village and told them what had happened, the entire village began to believe, and they too experienced the power of prayer and deliverance. Prayer changes things. When you pray, things happen in the spirit realm. Now notice too that this censer, which is full of the prayers of the saints, is cast into the earth, and it lands in the earth. It doesn't land on the people, it doesn't land on the places. It lands in the earth. And I want you to notice that the word earth here is not the word earth capitalized, which refers to the planet we live on. Instead, the word earth here is the word earth without the capital letter. And it refers to the ground, it refers to the soil, it refers to the dirt. And when the prayers of the saints are cast into the ground, when those prayers hit the dirt, that's when the supernatural activity begins to happen. And I want you to imagine in your mind right now the scene that's happening here. Here's this angel, and he's standing in heaven, and he takes the censer, and he releases these prayers of the saints, and it comes down and hits the dirt, and there's a rumble and the earth shakes, and there are thunderings and lightning, and I want you to get a sense of the power that is released when the prayers of the saints are released. And when you pray, when you take your prayers and you release them, never underestimate the power that's being released. You may not see the results of your prayer, but I want to encourage you to continue to keep praying. You see, John isn't finished yet. He's going to continue to look into heaven, and he's going to see more things. But he's going to see 7 angels with 7 trumpets. And each of these angels is going to play a role in pronouncing judgment on the earth. And each of these angels will announce a woe upon the earth. And as each of these angels plays their trumpet, something terrible is going to happen on the earth. But you know what? We have hope. We have hope because Jesus has paid the price for our sins. We have hope because he rose from the dead. And we have hope because he sits at the right hand of God interceding for us. And so, although these angels are sounding their trumpets and pronouncing woes upon the earth, there is hope for us because Jesus is our advocate. So let's take a look at all the passages at once before we go. 1. And when he had opened the 7th seal, there was silence in heaven about the space of half an hour. 2. And I saw the 7 angels which stood before God, and to them were given 7 trumpets. 3. And another angel came and stood at the altar, having a golden censer, and there was given unto him much incense, that he should offer it with the prayers of all saints upon the golden altar which was before the throne. 4. And the smoke of the incense, which came with the prayers of the saints, ascended up before God out of the angel's hand. 5. And the angel took the censer, and filled it with fire of the altar, and cast it into the earth. and there were voices, and thunderings, and lightnings, and an earthquake. I hope this video gave you an encouraging word, and I hope it helped you to see the power that is in your prayers. And if it did, don't forget to subscribe. And until next time, walk good.